That still throws me off.
I refuse.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Leave
right?
meeting. I'm out.
I'm out. I didn't sign on for this.
I refuse. I didn't know we were recording.
No, we are. We are.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Hey, everybody. Thank you
think we're
so much
live.
for hanging out with us on for this stream weekend. It's been super fun so far. We had a blast last night, and it was awesome having our day kicked off by two amazing streamers. And thank you so much for all of your support. Now we're gonna actually take over for the next couple hours, and for the time being, we are actually going to be talking to one of the staff members over at To Write Love on Our Arms, James Inks. James, how you doing?
I'm good. What's going on, Joe? Matt, hey.
Hey,
I
hey.
am joining from To Write Love, and we have a cool collaboration coming up, which I think
Yes.
this event is all about raising funds for, which is awesome. And we can't thank you guys enough for thinking of us and inviting us to participate in it with you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for collaborating and working with us. It's actually been so much fun working with you, Erica, and Amber all together.
Erica's the coolest. Erica, like, she's sort of first year with us, and she is working on confidence and decision making. And she's like, should I send them this or do that? I'm like, yeah, do it. Go for it.
I love it. She's
we're
doing
trying to
great.
empower. Yeah, she is. She's awesome. Trying to empower Erica to make decisions and get things done. She's been doing great.
That's fantastic. Yeah, everybody's been so much so helpful, and just the amount of just love and drive and passion everybody has is just absolutely amazing. And I know when I talked to you at the beginning, when we started thinking about this, actually this idea came from one of our ambassadors who was sharing a story about their struggles with suicide and how it affected them as well. They lost a friend, and they were talking about ideations themselves, and this was such a huge topic and issue, all the way not just in the United States, but all around the world. And when she talked about that, I talked to Matt. I was like, we should really do something about this. This is such a big topic, and it would be absolutely amazing to reach out to James over at To Write Love on Our Arms and the team over there and see if we could do something together. And I sent you a message, and I can't tell you how excited not only myself but Matt just jumped through the roof. I swear he canceled all of his clients for the rest of the day just to celebrate, just out of excitement.
The first meeting that we had, about doing these kits, I called out of work. I was like, no, I need to be here for this.
I have to be there focused for it.
I have to be there. I have to be focused, but also like I have to fanboy a little bit, because once Joe sent me that message, I didn't necessarily think about To Write Love in Our Arms. And I'm going to be honest, because I was like, no, we're never going to get them. They're huge. And he's like, well, no, I know James. And then I screamed, and I think it was like 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, wait, what?
And we were in Boston, right? Where I met Joe, I think. Was it PAX East? That was like the last convention before the world closed, actually. That was March 2020.
You're absolutely right.
Maybe late February. I can't remember when it was.
And I still love telling the story how I met you. And Alan was in the booth with me, and I was telling Matt, I'm like, dude, I can't lie. I think it was the Saturday of the convention. I'm like, James and his friend came into the diversity lounge like rock stars. Came over and was talking, and I'm like, dude, it was the coolest thing ever. I'm like, such a cool guy. I go, I really hope that we could work together and do something, going down the road. I'm like, that was just that moment will live in my memory forever. It was just so
the
cool.
The timing was perfect. There was a lot going on at PAX East too, because I think Gamers Hotline like launched that weekend. I think the weekend of PAX. To Write Love, we've done TwitchCon for a couple of years now, but we haven't had a booth at PAX yet, and that'll change eventually. We were probably going to do it in 2020, early 2021, but the global panini threw us off a little bit, which is a big bummer. But we're still thrilled to be in the space, right? I mean, I still feel like we're new kids on the block in terms of mental health organizations, because you guys have been around it's been probably a year and a half now. When was your actual founding date? You're probably pushing 2 years.
2018, I think our founding date for
that's way longer than I thought.
Yeah,
I was thinking
yeah.
like 2019, so I thought we were in 2 years.
That's when we really started coming out. We wanted to make
Okay.
sure that we had all of our ducks in a row, make sure we had all of our registrations, everything done
Yeah,
and in line.
yeah.
And then we did a real push in 2019
Very
and
cool.
really came out strong. And
Yeah,
it's been
so we
amazing.
got you guys in Rad, who's been around for a while.
Oh, I know. They're
Anxiety
awesome.
Gamers, artist formerly known as Anxiety Gamers. So it's good. I mean, so for Two Right Love, getting to engage with you guys in the space, I can give a little background on what Two Right Love is. So Two
Yeah.
Right Love on her arms. It's a long organization, long name for an organization. We always say Twaloha, like aloha, but with a twa at the front. The reason the organization carries that title is because it started from a MySpace blog post back in 2006, which was written by our founder, Jamie. And he was telling a story of his friend, Renee, who dealt with addiction in self-harm. And she was ready to make a change in her life. She had friends that were ready to help her make a change in her life. She couldn't check into rehab. She still had drugs in her system. And so she had to basically get sober before she could check into rehab. And Jamie, our founder, was with a cohort of friends that basically lived with her. I think it was a week or 2 weeks. They let her use drugs for one last time while they were there, and then they helped her basically go cold turkey and get clean and then go into rehab. The story of that was what Jamie wrote about in his blog post, which was titled To Write Love on Her Arms, which was about Renee. That started a movement. The title of that blog was printed on t-shirts, and those t-shirts went on to sell and funded the original foundation of the organization. And since then, Jamie's a prolific writer, prolific speaker. I have a copy of his book somewhere around here. But that became what To Write Love was. And so I believe that breaking down stigma saved lives, talking about addiction, talking about intrusive thoughts of suicide, and all of the mental health topics that are adjacent to that, of which there are many. Just starting conversations is the first step for people getting help. And that's still what we do today. And that was a huge part of the original story when we were founded in 2006.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I remember going to see him. He was talking at my college of Staten Island.
Yeah, he still does. He'll do more of that now that the world's coming back up. But
and I remember seeing him, and it was amazing. Like the story itself, I left crying. I think I cried midway through it. Just that whole story and that understanding of what happened and how To Write Love in Our Arms was formed. It's amazing. And I remember hearing of you guys during Warped Tours, Bamboozle, all the music scenes.
Bamboozle.
And I'm pretty sure that's where I got this, and I still have it.
There you go.
When I said fanboy, I mean fanboy.
There's some good vintage merch out there. Some good vintage merch floating around out there.
Yeah. So, and I was the one in my friend group going around with the marker and writing love. And I didn't care if my friends said, no, don't do it. I was like, no, you're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's happening.
You know what's funny about that? People actually writing the word love on their arms as a part of our organization. We didn't do anything to create that at all. Like the Two Right Love organization has never officially encouraged that. That was completely something the community did on their own, and people still do today. Like we still have pretty vibrant high school programs in college campus programs, and people will do that on their own now. And that really had nothing to do with us directly.
No, and we actually did it in my high school. We held a small fundraiser. And anybody who donated, we would, if they wanted to, we had like different colored Sharpies and everything like that. The teachers didn't like it, but we did it on the down low.
Yeah.
Right. but that's how long I know that I've been following you guys. And I think one of the big things that where our organizations sort of meet is exactly that, breaking that stigma. For sure. I want to throw it to Joe because I am still relatively new, and I don't think it's fair if I go into the story. I think it's better if Joe kind of goes into it.
Tell us about it, Joe.
I absolutely can. I mean, we actually started several years ago. I think it was in 2017. I was a member of another gaming just community, and we would run benefit streams for other organizations that made impacts for gamers throughout the gaming community. And I probably have about 35 streams under my belt for charity streams. And we got done one day and asked ourselves, what should we do now? And we got to thinking, and in that moment, we started really reaching out to other players in the gaming community and doing check-ins with them and seeing how they are. When you play in large online games and stuff, you start building relationships with individuals, and you start, really understanding like verbal cues on how somebody might be doing. James is usually very high spirited, a lot of fun and this and that. And so, this one day we're doing a raid and he was very quiet and reserved. And afterwards, we started reaching out. So we created a peer support network within that gaming community. And from there, we expanded into supporting other organizations throughout the gaming community that really have focuses on mental health. And after a while, we identified that we could really bring something to the table. We identified certain things that we could do that other organizations weren't necessarily doing. And so we started really putting our heads together, putting a team together and everything. And then we formed our nonprofit to really put our best foot forward and to stand shoulder to shoulder with our peers at other mental health organizations and foundations. And even to this day, we absolutely love working with other organizations because we're all essentially working for the same cause, to make a positive impact and difference throughout the community. And whether it be music, gaming, whatever, all communities alike, everyone suffers from these things. So we created special one-of-a-kind bots where people can utilize mental health and crisis resources while gaming on Twitch, in Discord. We started creating programs like our mental health kit program, which has been very successful and has helped so many countless people with providing them resources with no cost associated. So after that, we like you touched on earlier, we incorporated the nonprofit in 2018 and really came out the gate in 2019 to really make a difference throughout our community. And here we are in 2021, and we continue to grow and make more of an impact, work with great organizations like Twalaha. Did I say it right?
Tualaha. Close.
Tualaha.
It's a hard one.
I'll get there. Yeah, I'll get there. It'll be next year, but I'll get there. But it's been really
not an easy
amazing.
acronym.
You know what? You say that, and you're being super nice. It's not. It's just my speech. I will get it though. I think I just have it ingrained in my head of saying it that way so many times, and then I hear the correct way. It's like, I'll get it. But no, that's where we came out, and we're already planning for 2022 with bringing public trainings and courses and certifications
Very cool.
for the public that don't have a cost associated with them at all as well.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that because we have what is it called? Our Move program. We'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
There's a thing on that. we can do something with that too, I think.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But I mean, just on that, or even on our collaboration with what you guys are already up to, right? For Two Right Love, our roots were really accidentally became the music scene, right? Everybody talks about kind of knowing Two Right Love from Warped Tour. The end of Warped Tour was really kind of how Two Right Love got involved on Twitch. Oddly enough, we had kind of moved on to the EDM scene, but with gaming, this is 2018. So when you guys were founded, actually, it was the first year that we started to deliberately engage gaming in the Twitch world. I didn't work for them at the time. I sent Two Right Love a cold email.
Oh.
And I was like, all your Warped Tour kids, all the scene kids are like on TikTok and Twitch now. Like you should, I don't even know if TikTok was around yet in 2018. Maybe it was, but not as popular. But I was like, you need to follow your demographic into Twitch. And they sort of let me run with the organization for like 6 months running pilot programs. And then really quickly, I think the rest of the Two Right Love staff who had been there for a while realized realized that number one, there's a huge need for mental health in the gaming universe, right? I think that gaming in general tends to have this escapism element to it.
Absolutely.
Tends to attract not everybody, but tends to attract people that are looking for something that they can put their mind on pause with. And then at the same time, you know, you had an abundance of people streaming games, which was something that was kind of new still, right? I mean, Justin TV had been around, but I think like 2018, 2019 is when, you know, TwitchCon went from this little event to just like this massive thing, right? I mean, 2019 was a huge year for it. And streamers started to talk a lot about the difficulty of making it on the platform, which led to mental health discussions, which led to a bunch of homegrown mental health organizations coming out of the gaming space, right? You guys, Rad had been there a little bit before, but it was very obvious to the rest of the 2 Right Love staff that there's a huge need for what we do in the gaming world. And we've been trying to integrate with organizations that were here before us, right? I mean, we look to you guys for that, right? 2 Right Love, I mean, you know, again, more of the music scene transitioning to gaming, but you have folks like yourselves and Rad who have been around in the scene for longer than our organization have, and we're just so appreciative to be included in it.
We're happy that you're here. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's so it's so different. It's just so different than, I think every little community has its own vibe to it, right? Even within gaming, right? Like the Destiny community is different than what will be the New World community, which is starting to form.
I've seen that.
I'm excited. Yeah. New World looks
I'm excited for that too.
Did you jump in that yet?
I was in the last beta, but not this one, not yet.
It looks really good.
It does.
And if it's not subscription based, it's gonna be even better.
I don't know if it will be. I don't know yet. They haven't announced.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah,
and it's coming out in August, from what I've seen. So I think by now they would have. But as we're digressing, this is what the gaming community really is about, like you said. And each community is very, very different. You know, the Destiny community is different from, I go back to Nintendo, like the Pokemon or the Super Smash Brothers community, or the Overwatch community. Yeah. World of Warcraft.
Pokemon. There's a box of unopened TCG cards right there in the back of the frame. That's what that is.
Is that what that is? Oh my God.
That's amazing.
Don't mind
that.
That's
amazing. And look at that.
I'll get to that eventually.
And that became a huge resurgence, I think, during quarantine and because of TikTok, actually. Pokemon cards like blew up again. Like they were always popular, but it blew up again. And it goes back to that like escapism. It goes back to that sort of need for
nostalgia. People were so
nostalgia
so badly when everybody was locked down. It's been a rough mental health 18 months.
It certainly has. It certainly has. You know, and
I think for gaming in particular, it's been rocky, right? I mean, I would say one of the first tailored things that we did in the gaming world came out of something horrifying, which is continuing now with the news that we have at Activision Blizzard, unfortunately, right? I mean, in early 2020, a lot of people were coming out with Me Too stories, you know, survivors of harassment or assault, and a lot of that was coming out. And we attached a restricted fund to our mental health scholarship fund. So for the folks that are watching, everything that we're doing right now ends up zeroing in on World Suicide Prevention Day, which is what the suicide prevention kits that Guardians is assembling with some 2 Right Love materials included in it. All of that sort of fits together. So when we look at World Suicide Prevention Day as 2 Right Love in our arms, part of all of the fundraising that we do around World Suicide Prevention Day feeds into our scholarship program, which covers the cost of therapy or counseling for folks that are uninsured or underinsured. You know, folks that already have a therapist or counselor, we can work to basically pay that counselor on behalf of the patient, or we can help find them a therapist that participates in that program with us. But as an attachment to that program, we actually have a restricted fund that is specifically for people in, I believe it's defined broadly as media and entertainment, but it's really for the Twitch community, folks that are recovering from instances of harassment or sexual harassment. So if you know of anyone that's at Activision Blizzard that needs therapy or counseling, we actually have a fund that's dedicated to that lives in 2 Right Love's therapy and counseling scholarship program.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. And just knowing that, I know several people that are actively working there in some caliber, and I'll definitely be reaching out to them and letting them know that this does exist for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, we're so appreciative of how welcoming everyone has been to Two Right Love's involvement in the gaming community, right? Whether it be donors or streamers that have fundraised for us, or organizations that are endemic to the space like you guys. Very quickly on, we were like, okay, we don't want to just be passively involved here, right? Like, how do we build things that actively benefit a community that's willing to help fund our mission? And that was where that came out of.
You know, and I think on that regard too, right? Especially when we talk about streamers just in general, I know we've been Guardians has been working very closely with Geek Therapeutics, geeks like us, to create sort of like a streamer mental health kit, actually, to help assist. Because I think the other thing that happens too is streamers don't know necessarily how to manage other people's emotional and mental health issues, because it happens. You know, a lot of times when people feel comfortable in streams, they do, and I've heard this term on TikTok actually a lot now too, but they come in and they do what's known as a trauma dump.
Sure.
And really what that means is just they're expressing their feelings, something has happened, and they're just venting. And sometimes streamers don't know how to handle that. And rightfully so. They're not a mental health professional, not all of them at least. And so, and even in that space, they're not supposed to be. So it's really more so now, how do you manage somebody who's in like a little bit of an acute crisis? And what we've done with the other organizations is like, okay, here's what you can do. You don't have to end your stream. You can really just provide them some basic resources and try to not necessarily stop the conversation, but reduce the acuity of the situation. And a little bit of that is like identifying safety, what's going on, things like that, but have it incorporated more within the stream and not actively fighting against it in a sense. Right.
Yeah. A lot of streamers are starting to add panels,
yes,
or sort of passive commands that exist. I know you guys have the Discord bot that you created that
Discord
somebody
and
just put
Twitch.
you just put
awesome.
our find help
And
tool in
Twitch.
chat. Actually, yeah, a lot of people use the find help tool that you just put in chat in either in their panels or as an active command in their streams. I think it's something that happens to sort of up and coming streamers too, right? Where their chats are active, but they're not like flying by so quickly that the broadcaster can't read what's happening in chat, where the viewer feels like they can actually have a conversation. And I think just inevitably from being prepared as a broadcaster to help without feeling so much responsibility that you don't know what to do, if that makes sense, right? Like it's okay to be like, I'm not a mental health professional, like I'm not geared to help you. I can listen, right? I can always listen, but I'm not geared to getting to helping you or to giving you the help that you need. And I think that folks are afraid of saying that because it comes off as dismissive. But you think about what makes people seek help, right? What makes someone seek help? And it tends to be like a trusted friend that's telling you, hey, like, this is actually an issue that you need to go get help for, right? As opposed to saying, oh no, you're fine, you'll be okay, right? You'll make it through it. Those are nice things to say. But even better is being like, okay, that is a serious problem. You're not unhinged for struggling with it, right? Like that's a valid feeling. It's valid that you're struggling with it. And so what is the next valid step that you can take, right? And here are some resources that can get you closer, right? It's not a cure-all. It's never a cure-all, but here are some resources that can get you closer to where you need to be.
Right. Because just telling somebody, oh, you'll be fine, go shopping. Yeah. That does not help. It actually, in a sense, in a way, it invalidates the feelings where it's like, oh, this is not a big deal for you.
Right.
Without intending to, right.
Yeah.
I don't think others do it maliciously, but it's more so like you're being trusted by this person. Because as a therapist, I also do know the first thought in everybody's mind is not to go see a therapist.
Right.
The first thought is to go talk to a friend. The first thought is, to go talk to somebody close to them. And that's where the friend comes in and it's like, I hear you. That problem is awful. I'm sorry you're going through it. maybe we can find ways for you to get additional help or support for that. That's the better way, I think, of handling a situation like that. And actually, that kind of leads us into one of the other things to talk about, because like you mentioned, this whole kit is in relation to suicide prevention, right? And its main goal is to, I put it in a sense as to normalize talking about suicidal ideation and to prevent suicide. Because I know, for me personally, when I was in school, when I was going to my master's, that was the one thing that I was petrified of in my internships. Is like, oh my God, what if somebody tells me they want to hurt themselves?
Yeah, sure.
I was petrified of it. Like, what do I do? And I had a supervisor who I'm still in touch with these days, who said, no, we're going to talk about this, and we're going to normalize you talking about this as well, too.
Yeah.
Because that's what's needed. Because the first thing that you can't do is be surprised and panic, because that's not going to help anybody.
Right, right. Yeah,
and
there's some stigma in that, wrapped in that too, right? I mean, the stigma of like I think there's this desire to treat people that say, oh, like I'm having thoughts of suicide, and then you want to treat them like a fragile Christmas ornament or something,
right?
Like that they're made out of like the thinnest paper ever.
Yeah, like one.
Like if I say anything to upset them, or you know. I have a friend of mine who we did lose to suicide, unfortunately. It was a couple of years ago, but I when I reflect back on it now, I learned a lot, right? Because his name is Grant. There were times when I would want to ask Grant what he was feeling or if he was feeling, but there was this weird stigma around, like, if I ask him and then like remind him of those thoughts, like, would that be triggering to him for me to ask him if he was like struggling or entertaining thoughts of suicide at that time? And that's how I thought back then. And now I realize that, like, it would have been better to ask, right? It would always have been better to ask. But that's hard, right? It's hard because you don't, again, you want to treat people like fragile rice paper or something, and like not put holes through it. But that's what stigma does, right? I mean, stigma, and those conversations save lives, right? Being able to ask somebody that, we believe at Right Love that those conversations save lives. And so, having open and honest conversations about these difficult subjects is what keeps people alive.
Absolutely. That was one of the hardest things that I struggled with when I became a crisis counselor with Crisis Text Line. It was just, I wanted to be so delicate with people when I was interacting with them. And I'm not going to lie, for the probably first 60 texters that I helped and interacted with, I felt that way. I wanted to be very just slow and let them talk, and I was just afraid to jump into it. And now I'm a lot more laid back, and one of my favorite things to do with when I jump on, I still jump on at least once a week to help out and volunteer, is the collaborative problem solving. I love letting them get to the answer themselves. Like Matt said, first thing with, people don't think the first thing I need is go to therapy. Right. But when you're talking to somebody and you're being that friend and you're listening to them actively, and you start asking them certain questions of what they feel their next step is. What do you think a good next step would be? This or that. What about this? And you kind of start guiding them and working with them with the tools that they have and the things that they know. And then you start referring them to some resources that could help bring them to that next step, which is really, really important. Yeah. And I've seen that, just that process right there helps so many other people. Suicide prevention is a very difficult thing because it, like you said, it carries such a huge stigma on it. Yeah. People, when they hear the word, I mean, I think one of the statistics actually is for every suicide in the country, 135 people are affected by it. So it trickles, and you might not be affected directly, but indirectly, everyone has been affected by it in one way or another. A family member, a friend, a cousin.
The real tragic thing is that in that too is that we know that people that do seek consistent help usually overcome it and survive. I think that's a common thing of stigma where people are like, oh, if somebody is entertaining suicide, then they're going to succumb to it eventually, right? Maybe they can get better for a little bit, but then they'll fall back into a pit, and this is inevitable, right? If somebody wants to go down that path. I don't really know where that comes from. I mean, we've got plenty of data that Matt probably knows because your clinical experience would inform you on it. But I know that that's a huge.
I'm getting ready. Getting ready to jump in.
Do it, dude.
Really
well, it's a common myth, and it really is.
It's so there are two schools of thought with it, realistically, right? And yes, obviously there is a much higher increase of success if somebody is in consistent therapy and if it rises to the occasion, evaluated and taking medication. Yes, there is 100% a greater chance of somebody recovering in a sense and being able to manage and have better coping skills to manage some of the thoughts. The other school of thought, unfortunately, is exactly what you said, is that if somebody truly is sick, and that's how I talk about it, when somebody is truly unable to control has consistent
so much
and
for the
very
$10
intrusive
donation
thoughts,
and the kind words.
Sometimes there is a little bit of an obsession and a compulsion to where somebody does end their life. And I guess a little bit of a trigger warning because we're going into a little bit of a deeper conversation here. And I will actually, Joe, to what you said, how one suicide affects several. I do have like a little bit of a story. Earlier this year, somebody that I was working with, I did lose, unfortunately, to suicide. And there was a lot that was going on. But what's scary was the other people that I was seeing within that clinic all heard about it, all knew about it. And when I tell you everybody was affected, everybody was. I had more phone calls that day. I had more clients coming in saying, but also like, this happened. I feel this way now. I knew him, or I knew this. I knew them, and everything sort of happened. So it's scary when that happens. And I'll be honest, seeing it as firsthand, you always read about it in stats and things like that, but that was one of the days where I saw it firsthand, and I was like, this is what happens, and this is exactly what goes on within a community. And where I live, as big as it is, it's also very small, and everybody knows each other. And so when this took place, not only did it affect me as a clinician, and Joe and JL can attest to that for the earlier months of February, but we started seeing it in the clinic that I work with, how many other people were affected as well too. So we were in our own crisis mode of making sure that everybody was okay, providing the additional support. Clients that we saw once a week turned into twice a week for about a month after all of this was going on. And to this day, I hold on to that. And I remember, I'm like, this is all the negative, everything that they've taught about, everything that I've been taught just happened.
Yeah.
And and this is why I'll always say, this is where it's important to always speak up, to always remember that you are not alone. Even if it's the person that you feel as though doesn't care, 9 times out of 10 they do care.
Right. Yeah. And but I think both trauma and survived trauma, stories of survived trauma, echo loudly, right? And if people didn't care, or if you really were alone, then those stories wouldn't echo the way that they do out to inspire other people. I mean, we talked about Two Right Love's founding. That's Renee's story. That's Renee's story with recovering from self-harm and recovering from her addiction, right? And that's a story of survived trauma. And that was in 2006, and we're in 2021, and our organization is still thriving and entering new communities and collaborating with you guys for the upcoming World Suicide Prevention Day and the suicide prevention kits that you're assembling now. I'm sure I see ones on the desk behind you, or at least the bag is.
It's a test. There, I
Yeah.
do it. I actually posted a picture in our group chat to show you what all the materials look like all together right now so far.
Yeah, but that the message, you are not alone. We also use the term "you matter." They sound to a cynical person, they could say, "Oh, that's just a generic, nice thing to say." But the context for why we say them is exactly what Matt was just saying. Is that your story, especially if it involves trauma and fighting to survive echoes, and it has dramatic impact on the way that other people live their lives.
And I also think, going back to the story that I mentioned too, I think it entails people where people that you didn't think even knew who you were or cared about you. I think the aspect of that, when one suicide affects several thousand other people, that is a proof that to me, that is proof. That's data and that's statistical proof that no, there are people that hear and saw you and care about you.
Sure.
So to me, that's also another aspect here of, even when we don't think about it, or even when we feel as though we're at our lowest and there's nobody around us, there really is. And that's one of the biggest things I think that's in our kit, that's going to be in this kit, right? The suicide prevention kit, are those numbers, are those hotlines, are those people that do care, who don't even know you, but will listen to you and will get
Sure.
you support and will help you.
This is one of the reasons that I think I love Twitch, mental health, fundraising in general, but particularly with mental health on Twitch, because donors and the people that broadcast on Twitch are so much more visible, right? Personal, because you can look at a mental health themed organization, and if you never saw or heard from any of the donors, if you never saw from any of the people that are like, I care enough about this to dedicate hours and hours and hours of my channel time and content to caring about this. Like, I love mental health stuff on Twitch because you can see the names and the faces of the people either in chat or on camera if they're a broadcaster, and it's so much more, it's indisputable, right, to say that there's this huge cohort of people that care deeply about this and want to see me survive. And not only want to see me survive, but want to see me tell my story, right, and inspire other people to survive too. We're extremely lucky that the team on Twitch called the Nook has kind of adopted To Write Love for their summer charity festival, and all of the broadcasters that participate in that share mental health stories that are relevant to them, right? Which inspires other streamers to do the same thing, which inspires other donors to look in the mirror and think about their own lives, right? And think about what they need to do to take better care of themselves. Watching that groundswell happen has just been awesome. And it reinforces everything that we're talking about, right? That you matter, your stories matter, and that your stories echo and inspire other people. Even what seems like a mundane story, which is like, I used a tool that I found in Guardian's mental health Discord bot, right, and I got help. Like, that doesn't sound like this sexy, flashy story, but they're critical stories, because those
Absolutely
other people go and do the same thing. I mean, from your side in the clinical universe, do you know how people find you initially? Like, do you have a feel for that, or how people, not you necessarily, but how people typically find their way into clinical therapy or counseling?
Yeah. So I have two sides to that, because
Sure.
because I have two jobs. My first job is I work within a clinic for adults and adolescents with substance abuse and mental health. So through there, a lot of our clients come through the hospital. So there was a crisis at one point, and they sought out immediate medical or immediate support, which tends to be if we're in acute crisis, which tends to be a hospital setting. So they'll get treated, they'll get evaluated within a hospital, and then they'll get a referral to see me or several other colleagues that I work with. And that's where a large portion of our clients come from. Otherwise, it's a lot of who knows who. Again, where I live, it's a big place, but it's a small place. So name recognition is a huge thing. And where I
Sure.
work, I can't say the name, unfortunately, but where I work is pretty well known within where I live as a component of children's and adult health. So a lot of times it's through just word of mouth as well. And that's been one of the big things that we've seen recently, especially during COVID, is more and more people saying, where can I get help?
Yeah. And,
You know,
just
I've,
being able to figure that out easily is a
yeah,
lot of it. Because
yeah,
people don't. I think that people feel isolated even though they're not, right?
right,
Right.
right.
They feel like there isn't a place to go, or they don't know where to go or how to start, or they don't have insurance and they're like, maybe
Where do I
I
go?
would go to therapy, but I know that I can't afford it because I don't have insurance. So what do I even do? Right.
Yeah,
Where do
yeah.
I even go with
And
this? And
so,
that's why the suicide prevention kits, or the mental health kits, and now the suicide prevention kits that are being created, that this fundraiser funds, by the way,
Yes.
that
Yes,
Joe
it
is showing
does.
off. Those are free of cost to folks
Yes.
that want them, and funded by Guardian's mental health donors, more specifically. But they're full of resources where folks can go to get help for as far as finding their way to To Right Love's website. Again, our scholarship program is there to help cover the cost of therapy and counseling for people that have no insurance, have never had a therapist. We'll find you one. Or you have the Hopeful app card. That's
Yes.
cool. We have a mental health app that's available on iOS and Android that's completely free, and there are no ads on it. It's a
We
journaling
love
app and a
promoting it.
mood tracker app. Yeah, it's
Yes.
it's really, really cool. I'm really proud of the organization and the folks within To Right Love that worked on that.
Yeah, I've given that to several clients, and
Yes.
That's
they
awesome.
absolutely love it.
I have too.
They absolutely love it.
That's great.
The other side of that coin is as far as like where to find help, and there are great websites, Psychology Today, that will put you in touch with local therapists within your area. To touch upon cost, and now I live in New York, moving to Jersey, but I live in New York right now. And what I will say is this: there are places where you can get support no matter cost or insurance,
Yes.
right? There are call around primarily, and I've said this on a podcast in the past, but any type, because I think there's also a stigma behind the word clinic. Everybody thinks it's not the greatest, it's poorly run,
Sure.
things like that. No, I work for a clinic, and it's the nicest place I've ever worked. And I have a nice office. My pop figures are in there. It's great. And also, and at other
You had
jobs
to
in the
mention the
past,
pop figures, didn't you?
I had to
Gotta
mention
get
the
'em
pop
in.
figures.
I only have
Gotta
two.
get them in somehow. No,
Doom
but it
Guy
really,
and somebody else. Anyway,
I think everybody thinks of like dark, dingy places
Yeah.
where there are people who are screaming, and I'm like, no,
stigma, right?
exactly. No, you step into my office, you're gonna see every nerd. I have Critical Role books in there too. Like, it's ridiculous, but
It's a
clinics like
comfortable
that,
atmosphere. Yeah.
it is, and they provide you with support on a financial level. See, the clinics like that, you'll never be turned away. We'll do an intake. We'll see what we can do. We'll set you up with services, whether it's grants, whether we do something known as charity care for a little while till we figure out a plan, so to speak.
Sure.
And I will say too, there are also private therapists, because also where I've worked in the past, that do sliding scale. So how much, if you have an income coming in, let's take a look and see, right?
Yep.
And there are programs, there are places where they'll do it. Okay, $30 per session.
Yep.
Or what? Let's do 2 weeks. See how your finances are from
Sure.
there.
Yeah,
There
we do that
are
with our
programs
scholarship
like
program
that
too. By the way.
Yeah.
Like we can do partial coverage in the case that someone does have some financial means, be insurance or
Right.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or
And then-
we have a lot of great partners, as you're saying, that are willing to do kind of a sliding scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You have the great scholarship program, but also other organizations too, like RAD has
RAD does a lot of
that,
yeah.
They do a lot of it, and that's what they base a lot of their work on, is helping individuals cover the costs for therapy.
Yeah, RAD is Rad's a great organization.
Rad's rad.
Love RAD.
rad is rad.
RAD is rad.
So there are tools out there, there are people out there, there are organizations, there are local clinics out there, there are local places out there, people out there who are willing to help, right? And I, and this is a joke among social workers, but it's the truth among social workers. We didn't go into this for money, right? We understood what we were going into when we went to school. So we're not. I'll speak for me. I am not going to take or ask for $300 per session when I know damn well that right now there's financial circumstances that are causing a level of anxiety or depression or stress.
Sure.
For lack of a better word, that'd be effed up on my part.
Yeah.
But I'll work with you. I'm still going to talk to you. That doesn't mean you don't deserve services. That doesn't mean, maybe if I can't for whatever reason, I'm going to find somebody who can for you. And that's the other thing. We're going to make this work one way or the other.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah.
I just had an idea of adding something else
Joe.
to the kit.
What do you got, Joe?
What are we doing? We're doing it live. What are we doing?
I'm playing with one of the items from your
they're great.
I have been this entire time. I always fiddle with this thing. It's on my desk all the time.
It's one of those things that you didn't know you needed until you got it, and it's like, oh, this thing's neat.
Yeah.
And then you're having a conversation. I play with this one on almost every call.
I want to string like 6 of them together and make a mega one.
I'll send you 6 of them.
Might have to do that.
And the great thing is they link together, so you could do that.
You can. I have gotten caught several times because I'm still doing telehealth with some clients.
Sure.
And as I'm talking, because I'm animated, I'll use hands, whatever, and I'll have it in my hand. And I've gotten exposed. Like I had a client go, like, "What is that?" I was like, "Oh, well, your therapist also has anxiety. So to make sure that it doesn't come through during the session, I have this under the desk."
It's very Freudian of you.
I like this one.
Yeah, I try a little bit.
I like these ones because they rotate instead of going like left, right, up and down. These ones are fully like
non-rectilinear.
No, and I'll tell you what, they come in a ball.
that was an SAT word right there.
Non-rectilinear.
They come in a ball. I've never been able to put it back, but you know what? It's a great outlet for that energy, and every one of the kits,
right?
Yep,
Tools.
it's tools, and every one of the kits that are coming out for the suicide prevention kits that are coming out for Suicide Prevention Week are going to have one of those in it. And this was one of the items that we all decided on, and I'm really excited to get those in everyone's hands.
I remember that conversation. That was a very unanimous decision.
It was, and it was like instant.
Yeah, right.
The one thing that I really, really did love that was suggested by your team was to have the inclusion to have resources that were bilingual to try and break that barrier.
We're working on it too. We're frankly behind on it too.
We're working on it for several of our other things, programs and resources to have those available in English and Spanish. So
and it was actually he's in chat. Siani's in chat right now. He was one of the folks that looked at the Spanish translation on it.
Yeah. Oh, was he?
Native speaker himself. Yeah, he might still be out there.
Fantastic. If he sees an error, send me a message. No. But I had these looked at by 3 different people. We have one of our community members who is in the legal field and is bilingual, and he harassed me like, Joe, do not use a translator because they do not translate correctly. So he went through and every item, we have 2 more coming in, but every item from the safety crisis plan, the gratitude list, and then the know your signs on the backside are all in Spanish. So it's really, really great to have those available right there at your hand in the kit, to have something truly for everyone and to really get these resources out to people that could start utilizing them. And it's amazing. I didn't know how much I would love it until I had them in my hand, and I go, this is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, for sure. This popped in my head as we were talking about these little fidget guys. We've talked a lot about therapy and counseling, but that I feel that's an intimidating step for some folks, right? If they've never been to therapy or counseling before, that can be like a really daunting step to take, right? It's like trying to walk up a staircase by stepping on the top stair first, in a lot of people's minds at least. And I think what I really love about the kits is that they do give you smaller tools that you can work with on your own and build up your own comfort level. And now, important for me to mention this because I do not work clinically as a mental health professional. My day job is in finance. I do To Right Love stuff because it's fun. Most of the To Right Love community most of the To Right Love staff has no clinical experience at all. Just as to put that out there, but I'm a big fan of running experiments with yourself, right? Small social little experiments, right? If you've never been someone that goes to the gym before and you hate running, right? Try to run for 5 minutes on day one, right? You might find that physical activity helps you feel a little bit better or not. And that's okay. If or not, then try something else. Keep a little fidget buddy on your desk for 2 weeks and see if that makes it easier for you to get through meetings or helps you lower your anxiety or helps you focus and do your job, right? We talk a lot about hope at To Right Love, and hope is another one of those things that can be interpreted in so many ways that it's almost not useful. But for me, when I talk about hope in light of To Right Love, I'm always talking about running infinite small experiments on that might help improve your life, understanding that 90% of the little experiments that you run are going to fail, but that 10% of them you will find the thing that you were looking for that can help you along the way. But part of hope is having that fearlessness to keep trying little things, right? Because I mean, again, Matt knows this from a clinician. Like, I'm sure you've had clients that you don't vibe with well, but they go and they find another someone else, right, that they vibe with extremely well, and it's an incredibly successful relationship for them, right? And I'm kind of like that too. I mean, I used to run. I can't run anymore because my feet and knees are bad, but that was a huge escape for me, right? So found a different athletic endeavor that helps me and helps me ground myself. But I had to experiment with like 5 or 6 different things, right? That I tried for a week or two and said, this isn't for me, before I found one that worked. And I think that working on your mental health is like that too. You might try meditation and it might be a horrible experience and it doesn't work for you, but maybe you try yoga and you're like, yoga's dope. I like it. It helps, right? It's the thing that I needed. But you have to be fearless about trying those things and willing to invest time and energy into your mental well-being, and to believe that you can find something. You have to keep trying little things, right? We provide some little things in these mental health kits. There's a coloring book in there.
We do.
There's some journaling tools.
Also music.
Toys to play with music. Yeah.
Yes.
The
little playlist.
To Right Love in Our Arms playlist. The bracelet.
The whole idea. The whole idea is to do something different.
Yeah.
Do something different, right? And I used to work. I've worked in several locations, and I worked for some time within in a rehab setting, actually, for substance abuse. They all hated me because I repeated myself over and over and over again. And one of the things I told them, well, repetition is mastery, but you also need to try something different.
Yeah.
Do the things that you've never done before, because that's going to help you. And it is the little things. So even on a clinical level, I teach and show the little things, because it's like you got to try everything before you say that nothing works, right? And that's kind of where the idea of hope does come in, because hope is a huge thing. We don't want to give false hope. We don't want to give hope that that mutually two people know is never going to happen. But you do want to give let's try these things. Because there's hope in these small skills and techniques that you're going to find something that you absolutely love, and that's what's important. So while they all hated me when I ran groups like that, in a sense, I've had people come back to me and be like, you know what, shit, you're right. I was like, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was correct.
Yeah, and they don't have to be crazy things either. It's like, don't go to bed at 1 a.m. Go to bed at 10 p.m. instead of 1 a.m. Like, you'll be shocked, right? Like, again, I'm not a clinician at all, but my sleep is, oh my God, sleep is huge.
Go ahead, man.
And no, I'm sorry. The idea, but that idea of going to bed at 10 o'clock can be foreign to somebody who's really going and having very intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
So there is while the three of us here can kind of recognize all right, makes sense. For somebody who's kind of going through having issues with intrusive thoughts or depression or anxiety, going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning has unfortunately become normal.
Right. That is the
And
habit that they have. Yeah.
that is the habit. And once once somebody, and I include myself in that, once you start yourself in a habit like that, it's harder and harder and harder to break.
Mhm.
And that's where the whole idea of doing something different is shock the body a little bit and try to get back to a normal sleep cycle.
Sure.
And the other thing that I tell everybody too, it's going to suck the first 2 days. I'm not
Oh, yeah.
here to tell
Not
you.
fun.
No. And I make sure, and people like look at me like, well, why are you telling me that? Because I'd rather that it's going to be terrible for the first 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
To understand that there's going to be hope where the next 5 are much nicer because your body is getting used to it.
Yeah, it's like getting a tattoo. Nobody tells you the healing process.
Yeah. Right.
They always tell you, it doesn't hurt that bad. They don't tell you
Yeah.
the week and a half, 2 weeks of the
Yeah,
constant
oozing
it's gonna
all the
itch,
time.
it's oozing. It's like nobody
Yeah.
tells you about those parts. So being upfront with somebody like that and telling them it's gonna suck for a few days, but once you get over that hurdle, you're gonna feel so much better about it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
have you guys gotten Guardians tattoos yet? I'm waiting to see if either of you have one.
if we're at PAX West this year,
you might get it in Seattle.
This is where it's going to happen, and because there's going to be so many of the staff members and directors there that we actually, one of the past streams was actually, if we raised a certain amount, we would all get tattoos, and
I was just gonna put it up again. I was just gonna say, can we make it a goal? Because I'm itching. Like I need another one.
Absolutely. I haven't
Speaking of itching.
actually gotten a tattoo. I have a sleeve that I've been working on. I haven't had it worked on since before COVID. So now that things are breaking,
Time to get doodled on.
It is.
Time to get doodled on.
Where's that?
Speaking
I'm
of
thinking of the variation of your logo. I think it was on a skateboard at one point in time. I think that's the version of the one that kind of looks like graffiti. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yep.
IRES did that.
That was
That's a cool
absolutely
one.
amazing. Our graphic designer, our lead designer, actually designed that, and it's one of those things that skate deck. We actually, though that is something that we plan on giving away at every live event.
Yeah.
And the person that won that is over the moon. And
Yeah,
to tell
I'm
you the
sure.
truth,
That's really
I
cool.
wanted to keep it.
It's on the cover of the digital mental health kit, right?
It
too,
is.
I think.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And it's
I'm
on
scrolling, I'm
our
scrolling through your
staff
Twitter
members.
right now and stuff.
No worries.
Now.
Go right
Where
ahead.
it shows up.
Hey.
You want the login? No. No, yeah, it's an amazing design, and it's actually a design that we have for all of our staff members, like merch. We actually have like a hidden store just
Very
for
cool.
staff members that they can get that design on things. And maybe we'll do like maybe a little swap. I'll get a skate deck for James and do something. No, just kidding.
We have kind of cool stuff coming to our store too, which I don't know. We are overhauling parts of it, so more soon on that.
I love your store.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yep. I'm really excited to Write Love in Our Arms to start making it to more like gaming conventions and stuff. Because not only is your mission so impactful and important for all communities, it's the merch messages on everything are so strong and like empowering that I would love to see that booth come up to see people pick up those physical reminders to get a hoodie and represent. And that's so important to me, because that's something that Matt could be walking down the street one day wearing a shirt or a hoodie, and somebody else at the bus stop sees him and goes, and they see the message and it speaks to them.
Yeah.
And it can move communities like that.
It's a unique part of our founding, because again, I think it was 100 t-shirts or something was the original print of To Write Love t-shirts. That was to get Renee some funds to help her go through her recovery journey. That was the original intention of those. But we've always continued to have merch since then. And now we're as much a clothing retailer as we are not-for-profit, right? So the clothing retail side of it, I think, generates as much as charitable donations do. Our headquarters in Florida is actually a big merch warehouse where it's just like some offices attached to a warehouse that ships out all of the stuff that's ordered through us. And I think it's a really cool part of it, right? I mean, again, from the mental health side, from the streaming side, it all works so well, where people can can wear the things that they care about, for lack of a better way to describe it. Just enforces what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Right. That people do care and that you're not alone.
And it's cool that at the height of COVID, when everybody was stuck in their homes and you could see that it was really starting to impact people in a negative way, just that cabin fever and, the uncertainty of everything, that you and your team took some of those designs and actually made a digital coloring book people could utilize from home, which is fantastic. We did the same thing with ours, but what's great about that as well is in these kits, you actually provided us permission to actually put those digital ones into print, and we actually went through in the coloring book and actually, to write love on our arm on every page, all those designs, and they are just absolutely amazing. And I'm not gonna lie, my 12-year-old daughter has already colored an entire book. And
see that Dove one, we used to have a tank top with that on it that we need to bring back. It was called the cranes something or whatever shirt. Anyway, it's out of print now, but I'm a big advocate for putting that back in the store.
The duck one?
I'll work on that. Yeah. I think so.
Or the Dove one?
I think so.
That guy?
That one, yes.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think that's that one I'm thinking of. Hang on, let me see if I can find it.
I'm on board to bring that back too, and I don't even work for you guys.
We are going to do some more kind of gaming themed merch. There are a few people that have one that has like the old Super Nintendo controllers on it that says people need other people. But we never sold it in the store. I think right now there are only folks that were at the last TwitchCon, and maybe a handful of streamers have that. I don't even have one. So for the people that, if you're one of the lucky people that has one, good for you. But more merch like that will be
that'll be fantastic.
will be put out. I hope pretty soon.
Yeah, and anything, of course, going forward, anything we could do to help support, to write love on our arms and, collaborate and work together as we both, both of our organizations continue on our missions. We always love working with other organizations because no one's a one-stop shop. And I might sound like a broken record because I say that a lot. And it's true, though. No one is a one-stop shop. But the more that we can guide individuals to organizations that have focuses in what might be bothering them, or to help them with their next step, or to just work together on a group project to better other individuals' lives, we're always for it 100%.
Every organization has a different vibe, right?
Yeah.
And I like that because I think that everybody approaches their own mental health in a different way. Like I think of To Write Love, and just the name itself has some edge and bite to it, right? Like To Write Love on her arms implies self-harm in a lot of ways. So like it's an edge, it's got edge and bite to the name of the organization, which allows us to go to things like punk rock festivals and fit in really well. And it also helps that like we can look at people and say, most of us don't have clinical experience at the organization, right? I think there's a lot of I debate this in my head sometimes, right? Where people are like, you need to be sensitive about the words that you use while you're talking about mental health. And I agree with that most of the time, but I also want to meet people where they are, right? So like if somebody isn't going to say, I'm having thoughts of suicide, there are way more harsh ways of saying that people would look at and say, oh, it's taboo to say it that way, right? You can't say that you were thinking about ending your life, or you can't say it a different way, or whatever the case is. And I think that it's, that there's benefit to being able to meet people where they are, if it's in, a dirty dive bar somewhere after a punk rock concert, right? So like we offer that, but at the same time, there are folks that are intimidated by that scene that want a, less edgy, more clinical type of experience, right? But then they see an organization
Nate
like Guardians
coming in with $100.
Like, oh
my
God,
God, Nate!
Like that makes me feel protected, and you have folks that have some clinical experience there, and you can speak to that. But again, there isn't a one size fits all for it, because everybody is at a different stage of taking care of their mental health and comes from a different place when they talk about it. And so having a little bit of everything mixed in the scene is perfect.
Self-care is such
mental
an important. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I'm sorry. Just
I was just
mental health.
What? Mississippi.
Who? What?
Nate,
what?
Edit that.
No, you go.
No,
you go.
Go ahead.
No, what I was gonna
But
say, mental health professionals are the same exact way though, right? I
Sure.
have my specialties. I've worked in my one of my specialties is substance abuse. The other one that I do is working with children and adolescents, right? That's a specialty that I have.
Sure.
So if someone were to come to me, and I actually had this conversation with a colleague of mine, somebody, they were looking for a referral for a therapist who is experienced with LGBTQ population.
Yeah.
Now I have no problem if someone comes to my office, absolutely. But I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be. I will always listen, I will always hear, but if they're looking for a true expert, I'm going to call up a friend of mine who I know is, and I could provide you with the same care, but if you need an expert, I got you. Let's make an appointment with this one, right? So there is no such thing as a one-stop shop in reality, because we all have our specialties, we all have our things that make us different, and that's going to relate to somebody, because if anybody says, oh no, I can work with anybody. Well, yeah, true. But we also want to make sure the person that you're working with gets exactly what they need. And if that's not you, that's okay.
yeah,
The first thing I tell everybody is I may not be the right therapist for you, and that's okay.
Sure.
I want you to tell me if you feel as though this connection is not working. I'd rather you let me know so I can find you the person who does.
Sure. But
So that way we continue.
that concept at a high level is, maybe without you even realizing it, right, is a lot of the drive behind the variations of the mental health kit that you guys do, right? It's the reason for having a specific kit for neurodivergence. It's the reason for having a specific kit for suicide prevention, and I'm not sure what other ones you're working on. I don't know if you want to reveal them or not, but I'm sure they exist.
we have our main kit that's really focused on self-care as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's exactly why.
And we can't reveal it.
And we can't. But we're super excited. No, but I think that you're right. And actually, that's the first time I even put that into thought, is thank you for saying that. But yeah, there's a reason why, there are going to probably be a lot of different types of kits, because think about it. There's a lot of different types, and not everybody is treated the same way. You don't treat somebody
Minika,
who
thank you so much
may be
for the
suffering from
donation.
obsessive compulsive disorder the same way you treat somebody as depression. Doesn't work. It's not going to work. That's
Right.
fitting the square peg into a circle. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense actually, and I didn't think about it till now.
Well, that's why one of the things with self-care, it's one of the few things that you really don't need a mental health professional to work with you to create a self-care plan and to put your own toolkit together. Because if you are working with a professional, definitely ask them and work with them to put one together with you, because they'll know you and can suggest things to put in it. But it's one of the few things you don't need a professional to work with you with, because you know what works for you. And with our digital mental health kit, if you look through, we actually put together a how to create your own self-care plan, and in that we actually have some suggestions that could work for you that you might not have thought of already. Like you were talking, instead of going running because of the impact on your knees and everything like that, because none of us are getting younger. I mean, I ran 3 years ago. That was the last time I ran, unless I was getting chased by like an animal or something. But I found other things that I could do that were low impact that I could do as well. But also walking helps me. If I'm having a tough night, I'll actually walk out of my office, go outside, and I'll walk around the block at night and clear my head, get some fresh air and stuff. And I have my own toolkit put together that works for me. And anybody can put their own together, and there's some suggestions on there, and then also some examples of what positive self-care and negative self-care examples on there, so people can understand like how these things impact them. Like, I thought this would be a good idea, but really
I think what's
go ahead.
cool about listing it too, like you were talking about, it's basically habit forming, right?
Yeah.
Like understanding how, if I'm feeling this, it's beneficial for me to take a walk, right? And then feeling a certain kind of way is the cue to go do the habit that helps you. Like there's a habit forming pattern that happens in there. But I think what's cool about writing it down in a self-care plan is identifying when you're falling off track. Like I'm someone that has a lot of peaks and valleys. I'll be fine for 2 weeks, right? I'm productive at work. I'm eating well. I'm going to the gym, right? And then week 3, I'll fall into a trough. But the thing that actually helps me is like a little habit tracker. Cause if I go to the gym that day, I'll check off the day. But like, if I notice it's like 3 days without being in the gym, 4 days without being in the gym, 5 days without being in the gym, like that's the prompt for me to be like, okay, dude, like you're falling into a trough, like whatever, like you're getting into a rut, you're feeling, more depressed than you usually do, right? Or it's more severe than it usually is. But the canary in the coal mine is like a little habit tracker that I have for myself. And it's the simplest thing. Like it really is, I think the minimum is like did something athletic for 20 minutes and that walking counts, right? And I try to do that as many days in a row as I can. And I notice when I go on a streak of not doing it, it usually means that my mental health is falling apart, probably for something unrelated. But it's just the thing that's like, hey, like, do you need to take a day off work? Do you need to, whatever, not drink alcohol this week? That's a big one for me too, right? Especially during the pandemic. I'm like, it's Tuesday and everything's closed and no one's working. I'll open a beer at 10 a.m. Like that was not good. So don't do that. Yeah. Took me a while to dig myself out of that hole, right? But really simple daily habit tracking, which is part of my self-care plan. It sounds intimidating at first, but really once you start doing it, it becomes just a thing that you do.
Well, that's one of the great things about the Hopeful app as well, because it has that mood tracker. Yeah. I mean, I look back at it after 7 days to see how I was doing when I was, checking in on it. And I still look back at it. I go on every day and I add what my mood was. And it's that tracker that you could see how you were. And there's a little journal part. I would love to get this app you were talking about, this tracker, if there is
Streaks.
Streaks is what it's called.
Yeah. It's not that one's only Android, but there are a bunch of them that are similar to Streaks. If you go to habit tracking in the app stores, there's a ton of it. People like to do the little bullet journals too. I have one of those.
Joe's doing it live. Joe's doing it live. Oh, yeah? He's downloading it right now.
No, I have a desk full of Post-its. Like if you actually saw like what I see, it's literally like all my notes, meetings, ideas, everything like that is all around these screens and all over my desk so I don't forget, because I am very forgetful.
It's just about trying different things, right? Like the habit tracker, like some people need a paper habit tracker and do it in a bullet journal. Some people want it to be on their phone. I mean,
I like to put
I read a book called Atomic Habits that was huge for this kind of stuff. Recommend reading Atomic Habits. Great book on habit formation and how to get started.
I do. It's a great book.
Atomic Habits is good. It's good stuff.
Fantastic book.
It's one of the few that I keep. I usually donate books when I'm done reading them, but there are a handful that I actually keep around for reference purposes, and that was one of them.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's the idea of being mindful, though, right? And recognizing who we are, what we need, and what's going to work best for us. And that's going to be very, very different from friends, from family. It might be a little bit similar. We can gain experience from, but we always have to kind of look at ourselves and like, okay, what exactly best that I can be?
Sure. You know what I compare it to in the physical body's world? Because I like to draw comparisons between physical health and mental health. And the reason for that is because everybody has the friend that can just go eat like 5 pizzas every day forever. And they're just like rod thin all the time because their metabolism's absurd and they never need to work out, but they never seem to gain weight, right? And then you have the friend that actually tries a lot, but has a difficult time losing weight, right? I look at mental health in the same way. Like some people's brains are geared to need less self-care activity, right? You can have someone that can be just going through absolute hell and their brain's just like la-di-da, like plenty of serotonin around, like who cares? But then you can have someone that, not that their feelings are invalid, but cannot handle nearly as much of the pressure and stress as this other person can, but then like needs to go to therapy to take care of themselves or needs to engage a really robust self-care plan to keep themselves on the right track. And I look at those two things as sort of a similar way, right? I mean, when we think about our physical bodies, it's easier because it's visual, you can see it, right? But our mental health, I think, works in similar ways where you kind of need to look at yourself and realize like, you're not, defective or deficient because you have a friend of yours that just it's serotonin. Their serotonin receptors are just really good at absorbing serotonin, and yours kind of suck at it. Like, but there are ways that you can work on that and take care of yourself. And you might need more self-care than they do. So it's important to not like compare yourself. Especially social media. As much as I love Twitter, man, it's so easy to do that. And streamers do this all the time too, where they're like, that streamer seems so happy, or my friend seems like they're so happy, or whatever the case is. And maybe they are, and that's great, right? But just because you aren't, or because you feel differently, doesn't mean that you're invalid or defective or whatever it is. It might just mean that you need a self-care plan, where maybe that person doesn't, right? Or you need counseling, where maybe that person has found techniques that work for them outside of counseling, and that's great too. It goes back to hope, right? It goes back to understanding that you can get there, but you have to be hopeful enough of finding a good answer that you're willing to experiment enough to eventually get to that right answer.
Absolutely.
That was a long rant. I don't know what started that rant.
I was about to take notes.
But in all honesty, what that brings up is that, again, everybody's different. We're going to go through things differently. We're going to experience things differently. There could, where I get anxious, where Joe, you get angry, right? It's the same exact event, but two different people are experiencing it differently.
Yes.
And I think the other thing that I want to mention too, and that's happened between the two of us, and it's also been flipped, I think, too, sometimes.
Yes.
But the other thing too, depression particularly, right? There's a huge biological component, right? Serotonin is naturally, created within our bodies, but it's also naturally expelled. And sometimes the problem is it doesn't get held within our body for long enough. And so depression sometimes it's not always because there are bad things happening around you. It's because your body's not holding on to it for long enough. And just like medication, just like a headache, we take something for it. We take a Tylenol. We take this. Sometimes for depression, we take a medication prescribed by a doctor to help us out with it. And it gives us a bit of understanding of like, okay, well, this is just my body. And right. I'm going to love my body no matter what, inside and out. That was also a long rant, and I apologize.
No, it's a good long rant. I was always up until I was definitely one of those people that was like super resistant to try any drugs for depression. I was just resistant for it for a long time, and then in 2020, I tried it for the first time. Rocked. I don't even want to mention the drug name because I don't want to like recommend or not recommend a drug to people inadvertently, but was prescribed something and gave it a go for I think like 8 months during kind of the worst of the pandemic, and worked my way off of it. But the important thing about that is like I needed it at that point in my life, right? Like there's also that acknowledgement that like your life and your mental health isn't and doesn't need to be this static thing all of the time, right? That it's okay to need help sometimes and not other times. And it's also okay to acknowledge that like you are suffering more now than you usually are for various reasons, right? Because of whatever you might have going on in your life. And I think like a lot of people that aren't, I think that, people that are, how do I say this, have a lot of experience with their own mental health. I think that's a different type of person than someone that has like never felt depression before in their life. And then like the first serious waves of start to hit them when they're in like their late 20s. And they're like, what is this nonsense? Like, what is this? Like, why am I depressed? Because we just change over time. Or, you weren't stressed in your 20s, you changed your job when you were 25 and now you're 28 and you're feeling depression for the first time. And you're like, what do I do with this? How do I approach this? You have to accept yourself as you are in the moment, and not say, oh, I used to be stronger, right? That was always my thing. I was like, when I was younger, I was tougher, right? I was probably just better at disassociating, right? For whatever reason. And then I stopped being good at that, if that's something you can be good at, as I got older and realized that like I needed more support.
Yeah, I was medicated for anxiety for a year and a half. And like you said, that point in my life, at that moment in time, I talked to my doctor and I told him what was bothering me and everything. And I was on something for a year and a half, and I didn't need it anymore. But thankfully, but it was just one of those things that just helped me over that hurdle, to get me through and to help me kind of self-regulate, having high anxiety. So I didn't affect too many things around me, because, oh man, I mean, depression.
Trying it at all came from a friend of mine who someone that I had a lot of respect for, and she had kind of gone to war with depression for a long time, still does. And so I kind of went to her with it, and I was like, this is what I'm feeling.
Thank you
I'm
so
not
much
asking
for the
you
host
to diagnose me or give me advice or anything, but like, this is what I'm feeling. Like, is this what depression is? Like, that was the conversation that started, right? I mean, but we go back to just being comfortable talking about mental health topics. And I mean, that was life altering to me, for her to be willing to talk to me about her experience, and for me to have the comfort with her to be like, hey, I know you struggle with depression. Can you talk to me about the things that I'm feeling? And not in a, people are worried about being a burden, but it's not as if you're going to that person to try and solve the problem that you're experiencing. And it's not as if that person feels incredibly burdened by having the conversation with you, but just her being like, yeah, and I tried this, and this is how I first got into it, and this is what started to make me feel better. Give it a go, right? And maybe it's for you or not, but talk to somebody and see if they agree that you should try it. But the beginning of all of that was a conversation with a friend who I knew had experienced depression before.
Right. And there proves that the first thought in our minds is not always, well, I should go seek a mental health professional.
Yeah.
No, the first thought is really go to a friend, go to family. And the hope, and I think that's why we do a lot of this, is so that way people can understand and know, like, okay, I hear you. Let's get you a little bit more support. Right. And medication. So let me preface this. I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe medication. I work alongside plenty of psychiatrists and doctors who do both in all of the jobs that I've ever had. Medication can be long-term, but sometimes it's exactly like the two of you said. Medication can really just be, there's a lot going on in my life on a social level or an environment level. And there's research and data that shows significant, societal or environmental issues affects us physically. And so again, physically, if we're not producing the levels of hormones that we need to kind of feel okay, things are going to go out of whack here, right? So sometimes, I do need something to help me think a little bit clearer, help me to recognize that these coping skills that I'm being taught by a therapist is actually helping me. And then we'd have the conversation on a professional level with a doctor, like, okay, you know what? I think I'm ready. Let's start the process of coming off the medication to see how I do on my own, right? And that's the normal. That can be the normalcy. Now, this depends from person to person. This is not a uniform style for everybody. But again, that's because everybody's different, right? But the complexity, and this is where the difficulty of mental health comes in. Everybody is unique. Everybody is different. If you feel as though you need something or you need to talk to somebody, please go, and we will help you find that person.
And the other thing too is, this goes back to hope, is that not everyone that you talk to is going to be able to relate to the thing that you're feeling, right? So for me, it worked because the friend of mine that I was talking to was someone that had been diagnosed with chronic depression. And I knew that about her, right? And so she could relate to the things that I was telling her. But, it's important to remember that there's believe it or not, right? There's a large, it's hard to even imagine this for someone that experiences depression. There is a large portion of the population that does not know what depression feels like. So it would be like describing the color blue to someone that has been completely colorblind their whole life. Like sometimes it will be like that. And those are the people that are like accidentally dismissive of you, where they're like, oh, just eat something or just sleep more or just whatever. And they don't mean to be dismissive of, the feelings of depression that you might be having, but they haven't felt those feelings. They've never seen the color blue before. And so you're like, what does blue look like? Like, how would you even start with that? That is what describing random depression is to someone that has never felt depression before. They're like, you have a good job and you live in a nice place and you whatever, you shouldn't feel depressed. And it's like, but I do.
Right. So, you have a job, you have a car, you shouldn't be depressed. Like, right. I know I shouldn't be, but I don't know why I am.
That's why it's so frustrating, by the way, is because I know I shouldn't be, but I am anyway. That's why it sucks even more.
That's the frustrating part of it. Right. Yeah. And I will also say too, what I also have noticed on like a clinical level and just working in the various places that I have, more and more, especially actually adolescents, which is great to see because at least my field of view, what I've seen, children and adolescents are the most resilient, right? But even I think more so now, and this is maybe the positive of social media, where mental health is being talked about in a positive way, in some cases at least. At least my algorithm on TikTok shows me the positive side of things.
That's good.
So where I have parents come to me, he's like, no, my child actually said to me that they want to see a therapist, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Great. That's awesome. I love those stories. And let's talk about it. What brought you here? What happened? How did you think? So there, it's starting. I do start to see that. I think this, because I'm gonna break the cycle of every generation, saying that the younger generation is bad. I'm breaking that right here and now.
Now, Gen Z kids got it down. They're doing pretty well.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually agree with that. They understand what they need. They understand what they want, and they're learning how to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love seeing it, and I love being a part of it. Actually, that's kind of why I like working with a younger population, because I get to see this. This is great.
Yeah, I don't know why necessarily, but their younger folks' willingness to talk about their mental health battles seems to be way higher. And again, maybe it's because our TikTok algorithms just service that constantly. But I mean, I can tell you that To Write Love got involved on TikTok last year, and shout out to the TikTok team because they onboarded us there and were brilliant, and they made a huge donation to us when they onboarded us.
Awesome.
So big thanks to the humans at TikTok. But there are a ton of people that make mental health content on TikTok, and they have a charity program where you can donate to charities through TikTok now. And it's been awesome. We should get you guys on the TikTok train. I don't know if Guardians is on the TikTok train yet, but
we're just not good at it.
Right. I was just about to say we have an account, but it's the
a lot
one thing
that it's a lot of content work. A lot of content work. Yeah. We have our speaking of the Gen Zers, we have our young interns going strong on TikTok for To Write Love.
That's great.
Not
that's what you need. That might be a subtle hint right there.
Yeah.
We need that.
Not interns.
We need a
get out there. It's fun. There are some. It depends, right? Because there's a lot of space for like memeing around mental health, which we don't do. Like To Write Love typically won't do with its brand. There are ones that I love though. They're like, it's not signs of depression, it's Blue's Clues, and they had like the little Blue's Clues dog and like whatever. I'm like, that's just ridiculous. But part of that is like in the category of erasing stigma to me, right? Because it starts ultimately positive conversations about mental health.
Yeah. And the perfect thing is Matt's camera throws right in that position right there.
At a good moment.
Did it?
I'm going to screenshot. I was about to screenshot that. That was going to be our Christmas card. No.
I'm about to yell at Verizon right now. I'm not going to lie. Edit that out, but I'm about to yell at Verizon.
No, we follow the To Write Love in Our Arms TikTok, and I love seeing the videos coming up from that. And
yeah, they're cute.
If we
they're
could
fun.
Get in a conversation with the humans over at TikTok, that would be fantastic as well.
Yeah, sure.
We got to learn how to, Joe, we got to learn how to dance. That's the only thing.
You got to learn how to dance.
I can dance, but nobody wants to see it. Well, it is quite entertaining, but if I'm good at it, I think that's a different.
You guys have a lot of cool content you could do. Making kits, that takes a lot of time.
It does. I could actually show you the other side of my office.
The dancing aspect was a joke.
But you can dance. I mean,
we can dance if we want to.
Why not?
Yeah. No.
Men without hats back.
I've done a few videos on our TikTok talking about our mental health kits, and we've gotten a great reception from those. And I think when we go to prepare all the kits, because we will have 2,500 suicide prevention kits ready to go for Suicide Prevention Week, for a big launch for these kits. And leading up to that, I am actually going to be bringing them to my day job and setting them up in my conference off in the conference room on a big table right there where we can fit 40 people around comfortably. And
Doing
I'm
a
going to
little
be
assembly.
absolutely. And I actually have a few of my peers who are going to be helping put
Nice.
these together and everything. So I'll be doing videos showing these kits being assembled and being put together and talking about the different pieces and material that are in these kits extensively. So I know last night I did do quite a bit of talking on the kits and showing some of the materials that are in them and everything, but I definitely foresee doing something on TikTok with these more, just to have ready for when we launch these, to show everybody how much time and effort and just love go into each one of these kits. And one of the great things that is included, and I actually printed one out, is actually a letter of encouragement to everybody. It's got everybody's signature right at the bottom and everything, and it's super awesome. We include one of these letters of encouragement in all of our mental health kits. This one is new and is specifically geared towards the suicide prevention kits and encouraging individuals for what they might be struggling with right now, and encouraging them to utilize the things in the kits and then reaching out for help.
How do folks get a kit?
They will actually get a kit from, we'll have a request. We'll actually have a page up on our website specifically dedicated to these, where people can go follow the link, go there and request them right there. And that goes right into our logs and everything. And one of our staff members will actually collect those and print the labels and ship them right out. And with having these kits ready to go, they'll be going out same day. And it's going to be really fantastic. And these kits, they're so impactful and so important. We're going to make them a permanent kit that people can request going forward, that they can get these materials and get these, because they're so useful, and it's just an amazing kit altogether. I'd love to see individuals be able to take advantage of these all year round. And I foresee it helping a lot of people with getting these, and especially at no cost to them. And how many things can you go nowadays and get something for free, and especially shipped to you? I mean, I've seen things where I could get a cat tree that is free, but I got to pay the shipping on it and everything.
Right.
That was off of TikTok. Yeah,
Of course.
I need one.
I almost bought one. I'm not gonna lie.
Can you send me?
Yeah, I can send you the link. We'll do it off air.
For the cat tree.
Yeah, that was a bad example. That derailed us. Sorry for that.
No, I know, but it's one that I need.
Yeah, it's
four.
really nice.
I have 4 freaking cats. They need a tree.
But it's going to be one of those things where people can go onto our website, and we'll definitely talk more and see if there's something that we can do together to make a center location for individuals to request these kits, and get them sent to them. And some rig is hitting their brakes really hard somewhere.
Getting it done out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're way over there too. I don't know how I could hear that, but anyways, yeah, they're absolutely fantastic, and these will ship all across the country. And they usually, once they ship, they usually arrive within 2 to 3 days shipping time. So, and they'll come in, when they come in, they'll be in these really amazing bags. And the great thing about these bags too, they are recyclable. So once you open the kit and you get all the materials, if you don't want to keep them stored in the bag, and you want to, start utilizing and, putting things where you want them to be after you fill out the plans and put them someplace where you can get to them quickly and easily, you could actually take the bag and put it in your recycling bin, and they'll be recycled. which is really fantastic. All the pens are actually made out of recycled material, and they're biodegradable as well. So those are really great. We try to put a lot of focus and a lot of love and thought into these kits, and they're really going to be impactful going forward. And when we're off here, I have another idea to add something else to the kits too.
All right, perfect.
We'll work on that.
And they're curated by hand. So Joe's gonna have a ton. Once I get settled in the house, I'm probably gonna have a ton. Don't tell Amanda.
I'm sure there's plenty of space.
Oh yeah.
So we build them and ship them by hand. So no warehouse, no factory. So when we say like it is made by us, some of the items, yeah, sure, we got them from different places, but we assemble and curate it in our own homes and ship it, which I think is super cool in a sense. It really is a nice little touch.
Absolutely.
Did I freeze?
Ost is asking,
Oh yeah.
only in U.S. or international as well.
Right now,
So I
these kits are only going to be available in the United States. We are hoping to open them up to the international community, to the UK and EU. We do have a team member who is fulfilling our mental health kits there in country. So it is a possibility in the near future. So it might not be immediate. Those kits are available worldwide right now. So our main mental health kits are available for international, for the international community overall. The suicide prevention kits on launch will be available in country, in the U.S., and going forward from there, we will open them up for international.
I'm gonna see if I can dox myself by accidentally flipping this bag around. That's my address on the other side.
The plushies we do still have in stock in our inventory and everything. We have not started shipping those out again.
I didn't even know there were plushies. What do the plushies look like?
I didn't show you the plushies?
I don't think so.
Oh, all right. I can actually show you these if you give me a second. I have to go in the other room. Yes, we do have plushies. A doctor actually donated them. Dr. Jania Scarlett actually sent us quite a lot of these to add into the kits. But at the time, we were utilizing boxes, and they didn't fit in the boxes all too well. And with the size of these, we actually have to go up a bag size to fit these plushies in. So we were thinking about having these available for the mental health kits from our booths at live events. So if you visit us at a live event, you could get one of these plushies in your kit. And I'll actually go grab them right now.
Some little event exclusives. Everybody loves a good event exclusive.
Right.
That's good.
They are adorable though, and Dr. Scarlett's a good friend of ours, and she was very, very generous with everything that she sent us. Actually,
Awesome.
Yeah, they are adorable.
I think I have like a box under my bed that has all my like To Right Love and mental health related things in it, which is like I had to drag that over to get your kit.
So they will come in.
I just packed away everything.
They will come in a bag. And when you get it out, this is the plushie that comes with it. And it's a little
Look at that.
Little bat cat. Yep. They're actually quite big. They're very soft. My daughter loves them. Right, Sadie? Mm-hmm. Yeah. My daughter.
Hi, Sadie.
So, yes, these are the plushies. They are in stock. We do have them available. Like I said, we're probably going to make these an event exclusive. So you'll have to swing by the booth, and when you get one of our mental health kits, you can get one of the plushies as well. Sadie, you want to hold on to this one? Mm-hmm. There you go.
You know you're never getting that back, right?
Oh, I know I will. Will you give it back? Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, see? Oh, thank you, honey.
Easily done.
Yep.
I think are these in the regular mental health kit too? The little dots.
So
those are in rotation.
So
So
I have one. But
yeah, they're in rotation.
yep, what we have actually with going forward with all of our mental health kits, so we don't have a static. Thank you, honey. a static sensory item in there, we actually rotate the grounding and breathing exercises in them, and then also the sensory items as well. So you'll get the links in there, and then you'll also get a different variant of the links. There's also the pop bubble pads, and my daughter with her lollipop, and various other things.
Pop?
We have, it's a push pop. I think it's
Get it right.
strawberry. If I smelled it right. Yes, it is. But yeah, we have right now in inventory, I believe 7 or 8 different sensory items that we rotate every 50. So every 50 kits, we'll actually rotate the items out, and that way it keeps them fresh for everybody.
Yeah. She really wants. She's got to give you the push pop, Joe.
Yes, she does. Do you want to say hi real quick?
She's like, maybe.
She's like, yes.
It's dropping.
Say hi.
Hi.
There you go.
Up.
I just got back from shopping.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well, you guys have a full 2 days of fundraising for the kits that we were just talking about, right?
We
You
do.
started last night?
We started last night around. We started last
10-ish?
night with just like the Guardians crew did a little something, and we have so many more amazing streamers. As I have been adamantly saying in the Discord server, these beautiful effing people who are coming out and helping and supporting us and streaming for the good of these kits. I didn't curse. I abbreviated. Because Joe just came right back on. I was like, I abbreviated.
This is
Dad's watching. Okay.
Yeah, Dad's watching.
That's good. I didn't even ask if I was allowed to swear or not. It's good that I haven't yet. It's rare that I haven't yet, so that's good. That's good that I kept that contained.
So I'm actually in Twitch. I'm going to do the command for the schedule so everybody knows.
Yeah, we have an amazing rest of the evening planned, and then throughout all day tomorrow till midnight. It's been so much fun so far. Last night we had a blast, just playing some games with staff members and some of our ambassadors, and today it's been a wonderful experience so far with some people sharing their experiences and helping raise awareness for suicide prevention and support for these kits. And like we said, with every $10 donation, that provides a suicide prevention mental health kit. Where did you even get this?
Grandma outside.
Oh, okay. It's outside. Okay. Totally lost my train of thought. I had a balloon for a face for a second.
It is amazing. I think I'll pick up where Joe was because I got distracted by the balloon myself. The amount of streamers that have been incorporated and want to be a part of what we do is amazing. And for us, for me, it just validates everything that we're doing, because there are people that are coming from all over who are like, I want to help. I want to be a part of this. I want to help support. And the schedule that I just put in the Twitch chat right now, and in the past too, the other streams that we've done to help raise these kits and the continuation of creating these kits, it's amazing the amount of support. I think this is the one, and we were talking about it last night, where we put out the schedule for everybody to kind of like sign up. Which slot would you want? I think in a day it was just gone. Like, yep.
Yeah, it was, and it's really just humbling.
Yeah.
The amount of support.
Talk about your ambassador program a little bit. Give a little plug for that.
The ambassador program? Oh, absolutely.
That's all you.
That's all me.
You're better at it than I am.
Am I though?
I ramble.
So our ambassador program, one of the things we wanted to do with having our focus being in the gaming community was to create a program that is specifically focused on streamers. And with that came our ambassador program. So our ambassador program is another way to promote Guardians mental health in positive ways through social media, live streaming, and they help advocate for mental health awareness, provide positive gaming experiences, provide safe spaces for viewers and also their communities alike. And some of the things that we actually do for our ambassadors is we provide them avenues to educate themselves as well. We just want to be able to help them on their journey and prepare them for any conversations that might come into their Twitch chat. Some of the things that we do provide for our ambassadors is the streamer mental health kit training program that helps talk about parasocial relationships, how those form, cues to look out for in your Twitch chats, and then also how to set boundaries as well. That's a great program for that. We also are going to have another one coming up that I'm leading for. It's a QPR certification for suicide prevention and also warning signs as well to help streamers and our ambassadors with recognizing verbal, direct, non-direct, and behavioral cues or clues that are coming up in their chat. And a lot of these trainings, all these trainings are provided to our ambassadors for free. And it's not only our ambassadors, it's also their mod team as well, because it's just as important to provide these trainings and opportunities to the mods, because they're the ones that are interacting in the chats the most. So we go forward, and with having this presence on Twitch, they also have the RTS bot up, so there's access to mental health and crisis resources on the fly in the Twitch chats that can be utilized. That is a curated library of 100+ different resources and hotlines that if somebody is opening up, we'd like to have our ambassadors be prepared for that and then know how to guide them to proper resources. With seeing things happening in Twitch chats, like we talked about earlier, with some streamers actually try and just mute, kick, or ban an individual that opens up. And which with Twitch, when you start to become a content creator and a streamer, you start to get a community behind you. And then in that community, viewers look at your stream as a safe space. And when there's a safe space, people tend to open up and they feel comfortable in that atmosphere. And especially when they're in their safe space, when they're watching your stream on their couch, in their office, wherever they're comfortable in their space, they'll open up. And when they begin to start sharing, one of the terrible things that you could do is mute them and kick them, because that has a real negative impact on that individual. So what we like to do is bring ambassadors that have that safe space, that are inclusive to communities and viewers alike, and provide them with resources and training opportunities and support from Guardians Mental Health, with our staff members who are either formerly have formal schooling or training, or are mental health first aid certified, psych armor trained, and numerous other trainings as well, to have those conversations, to come in and assist them with any situation that might be popping up in their chat, and support the individual. So that's in a nutshell what our ambassador program is and what we do as well. And they also help us with fundraising to help support the mental health kits, and it's been really amazing so far. We've had such a great reception. We have so many amazing ambassadors that we just absolutely love, and being able to provide them these live streaming support programs, or tailored information sessions and trainings and opportunities like that, is really the best way we can actually put our foot forward and support the overall streaming community with educating streamers on various different topics and situations to better prepare them for when somebody reaches out in their Twitch chat. They know how to respond correctly and in a positive way. And that's really helps make the overall streaming community just a better place overall.
Yeah, it does. There are a lot of great things included in that, but I love the educational experience that's available to broadcasters to help them better serve the communities that they foster.
Absolutely, and it's been really great. We actually have 3 of them that are going to be mental health first aid certified. That's one thing that we do with all of our moderators in our partner Discord. All of our moderators who aren't formally trained, who aren't, social workers or mental health counselors, who don't have that formal schooling, we provide them opportunities to become mental health first aid certified. And then we also have partnered with Psych Armor, who are focused in mental health support, but also really focused on supporting the military, veteran, and first responders. So having that knowledge of how to interact with those individuals as well really builds that rapport at the beginning when reaching out for peer support with the person. So we really do try to have a good training behind everybody to have those conversations with anybody that might reach out to us. So if you do reach out, you are talking to somebody that has been trained to have those conversations, and also guide you to next step resources as well. So one of the biggest things that we can do for anybody else is actually referring them to other resources as well to help them on their journey. So
no, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
It is good stuff.
And I think that kind of brings us to the end of our block.
It is.
2 hours goes by quick.
That did go
2
by
hours
quick.
goes by quick.
Sheesh. So I guess let's do quick plugs
Matt cut out
before
a
we
little
leave.
bit. Quick plugs. Got it.
Quick plugs. Where can they find you, James? I hate my internet connection right now.
Yeah, To Write Love on Our Arms. We are our acronym pretty much everywhere. TWLOHA is the acronym for To Write Love on Her Arms. We're that on Twitch. We're that on Twitter. My name is James. I go by Plague TV. You can always email me at jinx@toloha.com, which is always a good time. And we're just thankful to be here with you guys. I mean, the goal of To Write Love in Our Arms is to be wherever communities form. Since 2018, when we started doing things on Twitch, it just becomes so obvious to us that there's a big mental health need in the scene, and we're just thrilled to be invited into the club by organizations that were born from the gaming scene like you guys. So thanks a lot for having us on and collaborating on the suicide prevention kits, which are probably being assembled very, very soon, or at least the materials are being curated for this. And thanks to everybody that is supporting these streams, including the broadcasters that are broadcasting. The money that's being raised right now during this stream and the others that are in this event goes to fund the mailing of the kits that we've been talking about over the last 2 hours. So thanks a lot, gang.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we'll throw all of our socials. You'll see it in Twitch. In Nightbot will be very nice and throw everything in, because LexiCat is up now, and I am very excited.
Same.
What did I do?
Nothing.
You broke up just as you said LexiCat, but you got LexiCat's name in, and that's perfect.
Oh,
It was perfect.
sorry, Lexi.
Thank you, everybody, for such an amazing block. James, thank you so much. We'll be chatting very, very soon. I want to run this idea by you. And
Yes.
everybody, thank you so much for your support. Stay tuned. LexiCat is taking over, and we have an amazing rest of the evening and tomorrow all planned for you. There's so many awesome things, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So stick around, and thank you so much for being here. Have a great one.